Welcome to the Meydan Free Zone Podcast, where we discuss the innovators and rule breakers that are changing the business landscape of Dubai and the UAE. Today, we have the pleasure of talking to AMAL and ALISHER, two of the co-founders of Comfi, a company that is revolutionizing B2B payments with their buy now, pay later solutions. AMAL, ALISHER, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Firstly, I wanted to get to know a little bit about Comfi. For people that aren't aware of or don't really understand, the buy now, pay later methods, can you tell us why you decided Comfi specialized in this and why businesses should look forward or explore these options?
What we do essentially is very similar to Tabi or Tamara. We want to bring the consumer approach to B2B payments as well by enabling the extended or deferred payments between two businesses. So one can enjoy the fact that he can get the funds upfront, and the other one to have the extended terms and pay over time. We have been operational for 1 year. It's been a huge journey for us. We have done a lot already for the market. We have onboarded 100 suppliers and we have 400 buyers on the other side. The main goal of Comfi is the cash flow for suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, and make them focus on their growth, on their main core of the business, rather than the payments, risk.
And for companies that, they're not really privy to managing their finances or managing their credit risk ratings and things like that, can you simplify it for, let's say, I'm not a person that is really, I know a lot about finances, but I wouldn't say I'm at the level that you probably would know. So in layman's terms, for a person such as me and some of our audience, can you tell us a little bit about how in this day and age, entrepreneurs should be aware of, cash flow issues, credit risk, anything to do with the cash flow cycles? Because I think you learn things in school, and unless you're actually in finance or interested in that, it becomes a lot of jargon. So
you're completely right. And actually, if you would like to start dealing with the businesses, you would face several issues. A part of your main business, right, and expanding it, you would see customers coming to you and saying, "Hey, Maria, I would like to pay in 30 days. Is it something you can facilitate? Because I have dozens of other suppliers that I get my products from, and they have agreed to provide me the credit terms of 30, 60 days. You would say, okay, in the first phase. Then you will face a challenge of arranging the liquidity to facilitate the extended terms, because you have to pay upfront to your suppliers, to your employees. Then when it comes to the collection, you would chase your customers, and eventually it may be delayed and your cash cycle will be broken.
Yeah.
And you will have to find a way to first understand the risk behind the buyers and streamline your collection process so it gets paid on time. So it's a complex combination of three things, which is working capital, risk, and collection. And that's something we want to get away from Maria, make it on our shoulders, build the rails so Maria is not focused on non-financing elements where her knowledge might not be sufficient, and make her expand the business.
Even if you don't, let's say you do have an understanding of the cash flow cycles and you are aware, but you don't have the time. As startups and entrepreneurs, most of the times the resources that we lack the most are money and the actual time to be able to do every aspect and make sure that everything's going smoothly. But when it comes to actually offloading that to someone else that has the experience, understands the methods, I want to get your insights on, in the UAE, for example. What have you found when you've onboarded the 100 clients? What have you found is the issues they face the most? Whether it's someone that has no knowledge of this or someone that already has it but wants to use Comfi as their service provider.
So I would draw an analogy with the fuel. Like you wouldn't go and reinvent the fuel. You would simply use whatever is there in the market, like an existing system that is working and that is scalable. And I would say for any small business that is trying to grow and trying to sell more, expand to other markets or to other emirates, and they want to crack the credit business game, to trade on credit, to completely remove the headache, like Ali said, of risk collections and financing, they can employ a fintech like ours, a B2B BNPL, so that we kind of become this fuel for them, and they just drive the car into the direction that they want.
And take me through this journey. So if I'm coming to you, I want to start doing, buy now, pay later payments. How would you onboard a client? Because everyone has it in a different way, but I want to understand what differentiates Comfi from other people that could potentially assist our clients.
So first of all, what we would do is we would have a very light conversation with you on your business, understanding the nature of your business, trying to discover and decompose what parts of risk collection and credit trade is existent there, if at all it exists. And after that, we would require some documents, walk you through some onboarding. You would register your account on our platform, and we will give you a full demo on how to start integrating this into your process, because there will be a couple of teams that might be involved, your finance team and your sales team. The sales team is the one that is going into the pitch and starts pitching the Comfi option now to your customers. And the finance team is someone on the back end who is controlling all the invoices, all the creation of orders on the Comfi platform. And you start growing together with our account managers' help, who is always supporting you down the road, trying to achieve your business targets, which could be set as, I want to 2x my business in the next quarter thanks to Comfi. And that's what we try to achieve together with the
So it's a very customized and unique approach to every business that enters.
I would say universally customized.
It's the same method, but it has to be
Yes.
customized to each business case, because I could be wanting to implement these solutions for, let's say, fashion, whereas another person might want to do it for actual consumer goods trading,
When we switch industries like that, like FMCG, automotive, for example, the way we approach, the way we pitch on the field is completely different, because the level of understanding from the buyer side is also very different. And we might be using different messaging. At the back end, nothing is changing, but at the way we present it to the customers, so that it's something that they're used to be doing and they have no kind of friction to start using Comfi, we just tweak the messaging.
And I think at the end of the day as well, when we have, for example, when it comes to B2B, if I'm going to buy an amount of inventory and I've decided I'm going to give people, or I'm going to be paying, either I'm going to, sell people my stuff on a buy now, pay later system, or I'm going to do the actual buying now and paying later system. It's two different channels to explore for an individual business. And then I think they will end up deciding whether they want to do both, which one they want to choose if they select that. And that can become very complicated if you don't understand how to manage that, how to work with that. Sometimes some places don't offer it, but if you actually come to a negotiation, then they're saying, you know what, you've been a really good, consistent buyer from my products. I'll give you actually the benefit of the doubt. And then they can come in and use products like Comfi as well. But now from a regional perspective, you operate in the UAE, and for the audience that might not know everything about Comfi, where else do you practice your services? Is it just here, or?
Currently, it's limited to UAE. We're about to expand our services to Saudi. Actually, that's the next big market we want to conquer. As Amal said, our approach to customers are, individual. Even though the industries tend to replicate themselves in terms of the process, right, the approach to buyers. So we see a lot of similarities of the businesses, of the, I would say, gaps in the cash flow of businesses in UAE, in Saudi. So it would be easier for us to offer the same, but currently it's limited to UAE.
And at the end of the day as well, when it comes to, exploring the different avenues here, you're saying the systems are basically replicated or can be replicated, right? But I think something that differentiates the company that provides the services that Comfi provides is also the customer service and the customer experience at the end of the day. Because although, banks, they provide basically the same thing across the world as an example. But depending on your relationship or how that bank deals with the client will make me decide whether I want to go with this one or this one. And the same thing comes with, companies that can assist them with different payment plans and support systems like that. So the fact that, Comfi's onboarded over 100 different clients shows a testament over the past year of how efficient or how high the customer experience is, which from a Meydan Free Zone perspective, it's something we highly value as well. So I think the partnership at the end of the day is really, it's great because it's similar goals for clients, but in our respective industries.
And I would add an important piece to it, that the customer experience that our end customers are getting eventually is usually defined by the demographics of the territory. Here it's English, Arabic, Urdu, Hindi. in Saudi, it will be super Arabic. It will be like 99% Arabic, and what they prefer to see in the communication will be implemented in that territory.
And also, everyone's financial relationship is completely different depending on from culture to culture. Some people are more risk averse. Some people, really don't care, or they have so much disposable income that let me start a startup, or let me start an SME or a fully fledged company, and then they don't care. Oh, let's just try this and see if it works. But then there are people that really do not have the resources to just say, let's test this out. So the fact that you can communicate across different, cultural differences and relationships to finances is also really important at the end of the day. Because with us, for example, we have a plethora of different nationalities with thousands of companies with many different shareholders, depending on the origin of the company or the origin of the people, their nationality. But with that being said, I wanted to discuss when it comes to, for example, buy now, pay later. And maybe at the beginning, it's not a feasible option. But why would it be important to consider this as an option when you are scaling your business? When you're deciding, you know what, actually, we're doing really well. I feel like now I don't have as much risk to not pay whoever I owe. Now I want to start doing these systems.
That's a good point. We're facing the same challenge of understanding with traditional businesses. Mm-hmm. What they have built over, let's say, 10 years is something they really care about. They have 10, 20, 30 customers that they have nurtured, filtered out, right? And they have built really strong relationships. Now the question is, do I need to expand, and how should I expand the business if I'm on a scale mode, right? The first thought that we try to bring to the market is your customers are actually limited by your exposure to their business, right? Mm-hmm. If you're trading on credit with them, their growth is limited by your capital, basically. What we want to bring to the market is the extended facility, right? Let's say you are delivering an orders for 50,000, just because you cannot afford more, right? You cannot buy it upfront for larger quantities. So whenever we come in between two businesses, our goal is to understand the full potential of your counterparty. If it's, let's say, 1 million, we would like to cover that part and allow you to distribute the goods of 1 million to the same counterparty. That's what we want to deliver the market. We want to understand the true potential of your counterparties and extend the full facility.
Oh, that's really interesting. But now when you say, the counterparties, for me, I'd like to understand a bit more about this, because it does interest me at the end of the day. So you'll support the business that wants to use the buy now, pay later, BNPL. And then for that counterparty, are you involved with them as well, or you're just for the person that's using your services?
So whenever we onboard Maria as a supplier, let's say you distribute meat products to the restaurants, right? The way we are involved in the process is whenever you have the invoices due and you send reminders, there will be an option to settle the balance through Comfi. Mm-hmm. Let's say the restaurant who owes you money cannot pay on time, they would go through the link in the same reminder or invoice that you have shared with them, and they have an option to extend that due date for the next 30 days, let's say. That's how we're seamlessly involved and covering your point about customer experience, right? Banks cannot facilitate that. Banks deal directly with huge application that they collect from the customer and process it for weeks. Whereas in our case, the speed is very important. If we want to bring Tabi-like experience to B2B trade, we have to be seamlessly embedded to their existing process and be able to instantly give yes or no decision. That's how we are positioning ourselves. We're the same as Tabi. Don't be afraid of us. We're not the bank. We're very friendly, seamless, and instant.
And you mentioned, it's a different realm from banks. Banks have so many different kinds of checks and balances, and they provide a different kind of service. At the end of the day, it is actually loaning and owing to a bank. But when it comes to people that support these kinds of services, it's quite different. And I wanted to mention, to our audience that might not know, you as a company have deployed over 40 million USD in capital. But on top of that, there's about 3,000 plus transactions, was it, that you've assisted. We've been talking about how banks, provide a different service. What do these numbers mean when it shows like the demand for a service such as Comfi? Because you can't generate those numbers when you've only been established since 2023 and you're delivering a high-end product and high-end service at the end of the day. So what do these numbers communicate to how, the consumer base, your B2B businesses that you're working with are reacting with this kind of service? And where do you see that going for future, businesses as well?
Ambitions for the next year. We want to process 200 million a year.
I mean, I couldn't even get through 40 million USD. Imagine me trying to say 200 million.
I think we're on a good track. The first year of the same, B2C players like Tabi or Tamara were on the same stage, plus or minus. And if you compare our current state with what happened with B2C BNPL, we're standing the same. And currently, the same players processing more than 6 billion in transactions USD a year. So following the same trend, we want to eventually come to the number of invoices or the amount to be processed. Our current exposure is again covered very small piece of available market. The total available market is around, in UAE, is 1 million SMEs. We have covered only 500 all in all. So we have big room of opportunity, big ambitions for the next year, and eventually want to come to the billions.
Well, I'm wishing you guys all the best. That sounds really exciting. But we're speaking about where Comfi wants to go, but I want to know where it started as well. Because for someone that might not know your faces, and we don't unfortunately have the other two co-founders, but for someone that wants to understand, I know when it comes to finances, people need to trust who they're going to invest with or work with when it comes to their money. Can you tell us a bit about, the origin of Comfi? What inspired the team to decide to, let's actually create a proper service that is assisting clients? And, any advice or anyone who's looking to work with Comfi, why they should come and work with you guys?
I think it was an important question regarding the trust. Because in B2B, you would like to retain the customer. You would like to offer him the best service because it's hard to find another B2B customer, I would say, right? So trust is very important. And why businesses should trust us is all linked to the amount of capital in place to help them, right? The capital is super important. And the fact that we are doing this private venture startup, not the first time, we did it in the past. We have successfully exited our past startup to Amazon, proves the fact that we can scale, we can raise money, and we can deliver whatever we have promised. And going back to the history in the way we met each other is, we have a CEO, his name is Sanjar, he is missing today, but he invited me to join a startup, last mile delivery startup. Back in 2016, there were no Karim Talabats. They were on a very small scale, and restaurants tend to hire bike drivers on a fixed salary and pay on a monthly basis. There was no option to outsource it. So we have introduced this notion to the market, let restaurants to outsource delivery, right? This idea, this startup was noticed by Souk. They got a stake in our project. Then when Amazon entered the market, they acquired the whole portfolio, including us. So later on, we parted our ways with Sanjar, and he started a poultry farm. He went into more secure, traditional business, just to, some base for his child to lead that in the future. So he noticed a gap in the market. He says, hey, I have 10 supermarkets where I deliver, but I usually get paid in 60 days. I have to manage not only manufacturing part of the business, but also the financing part. I have no knowledge. I saw that Tabi has done something in B2C market, enabling credit. So why not to replicate the same for my farm?
For B2B.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have built the product back in 2023, specifically to cover his poultry farm use case.
And then it just grew and grew and grew.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Success.
We invited other friends of family, B2B businesses. The second was a travel company. So that's how the ball got moving. And what we suggest is to other entrepreneurs that would like to take a risk and go into full mode with startup journey is to find very close people with whom you can iterate over multiple versions, ideas to solve specific problem, if there is any, and see if they're ready to pay. That's how we started, right?
You both obviously have extensive experience in entrepreneurship and startups as well. And as you know, there's a lot of startups and people that are wanting to enter the startup and SME space as entrepreneurs coming to the UAE. What have you guys learned? And if you can give me maybe 3 pieces of advice as entrepreneurs, self-made entrepreneurs, to anyone that's considering entering the market. Doesn't matter the industry, but from your expertise and from what you've seen, what would you recommend they, look for?
Don't spend too much time thinking, start executing, start delivering, start shipping,
Totally
build
agree.
and ship, learn from the market, and you will just go by inertia and you will grow. If we were taking every fear that we had, every blocker as granted and wouldn't act on it, we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And when we have spoken recently with an investor, asking him, guys, there is a new competitor in the market. It was founded by McKinsey guys who overthink about things to make it complicated and overprice. They said, we haven't invested to this company. We have spoken to them just because of this fact, just because people behind it might overthink about.
Entrepreneur has a level of risk, and if you're not happy to play with that risk or play with that margin, then it's the wrong.
Sometimes you have to be stupid enough to make these bold decisions. When you're too clever, you don't entertain.
Yeah,
you don't
and
make
with this
decisions.
same topic, I would love to hear if you guys have any, success stories that you were really happy when they worked with Comfi. Any businesses, or not maybe specific names, but a certain situation where with Comfi you saw they took the risk and it paid off, and they're doing really, really well. Other than Comfi, of course, because you took the risk and it's doing really well.
I have a couple of cases. One is for the guy, the small business that is selling fresh flowers. And he was struggling with the difficulty to pay back to his suppliers. And he had good channels of distribution in terms of selling. He was good, but he didn't have enough of depth of his pocket to finance all of his customers, because all of the customers are requiring 60, 90 days deferred payments. Yeah. And we helped him grow his business twice within the first quarter. So he doubled his sales. That's one of the cases. Another case that I heard from the auto dealer for whom we help with dealer financing. He got a huge contract from Kia thanks to us. So otherwise he would be very much afraid, but with the support from Comfi, he was able to get this 200 new cars agreement with Kia that are getting delivered to him like 50 per quarter. That's his words. I'm just
That's really
rephrasing
exciting,
his words.
though.
And we were like, oh, we helped the guy to grow and work with Kia.
But it's unfortunately the case is whenever you enter any form of entrepreneurship and start investing or creating your own business, there is a level not only of risk, but also you have to kind of manage your risk internally and externally. There are many times when you might not have all the resources available, and that is the only thing that's limiting you. But if you've been consistent and you have a very strong, identity as whether it's the brand, the product, the service, and you can deliver and you can keep to your word, then it's important to have partners or relationships with people such as the members of Comfi or other service providers that can help you just get that threshold. Because if that's the only thing that's jumping, there's always a solution to jump over the hurdle, right? But if you choose to stop there, then entrepreneurship is not the best solution or the best option for you. But I'm really glad to see that all that Comfi has gone through and all the experiences that has made Comfi what it is now have just continuously made it grow more and more. And I can't wait for your guys' expertise to translate onto the Meydan Free Zone clients and to just see where they go. Because I know as a startup and as an SME or as even a fully fledged company, there will always be a time, a company's life cycle is never perfect the entire time. It's never linear. So in those ups or downs, I'm glad that they have someone or a company that they can use to support them. But with that being said, I wanted to if you can tell our audience any information about, if they want to work with Comfi, if they're considering using, the buy now, pay later systems, any other kind of systems like that. What should they know and why should they choose Comfi at the end of the day?
One thing that I wanted to share is that they have to know that there are a lot of these fintechs that are popping up right now that are trying to crack the problem of SME cash flow. And I would say one thing, yes, sometimes right now their appetites are very huge. and there is a lot of liquidity available for SMEs, like getting more and more. But you have to be very careful not to over leverage yourself too much, so that it will be like a very big strangle and hurdle for you.
We were talking about take risks, but take meaningful risks, not just like say yes
exactly,
to everything.
Take meaningful risk. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I would say, diversify your facilities if you're going for this. Even if we tell you, hey, let Comfi be exclusive, still I would recommend to diversify the facilities that they have in place. Because you never know who will actually be the end players that will keep on delivering and that will not disappear from the map in the next 2-3 years. So start building up your credit history with all of these new emerging fintechs.
Yeah, and get to know and understand your markets, get to know the different partners or solutions that are available. Because like we said earlier, it's very easy to get trapped to think you can do everything, or, oh no, I'm very risk averse, I don't really want to deal with this, I want to be paying on time. But the reality is sometimes you will have to use credit. Sometimes you might not have all the money to pay immediately. And sometimes you might have to work with suppliers or, customers, even though it's a B2B, but that can't really pay you everything, but they've been consistent the entire time. So you don't want to shut off the business, you don't want to shut off those relationships when there are solutions, especially within the credit systems, that can support them and make that maybe that obstacle or that moment, the glitch in your journey, better and successful down the line.
Quick note, why Meydan businesses should consider financing partners in their business. I think that's very important. The main element is not only retain your customers, but also expand into each of your customers, right? So increasing the average order value per customer, retaining them and making them happy without any limiting factors from your own side, involving third-party players like Comfi is important to achieve those goals. Expand into each of your individual customers. That's what matters in B2B.
Well, I'm so glad that we got to chat today and get to understand a little bit about the buy now, pay later world, how to use credit to your advantage and to scale, but also to manage risk in an appropriate, and you have to consider really well how you're going to stretch out your business and work well with the resources that are available. And the UAE has a lot of opportunities. You just have to know where to look, do your research. And I'm so glad that, the partnership between Comfi and Meydan Free Zone opens another door for not only our clients, but other people that are watching the podcast to further grow, to further scale, and just, expand across the world. So thank you guys so much for joining me today.
From Dubai to global. From Meydan to global.
From Meydan to the world.
Thanks for having.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
To our listeners, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you gained invaluable insights from ALISHER and AMAL and understood the importance of investigating all the different routes or elements that your business can look for when managing your cash flows, when wanting to explore credit. There's more things than just banks. So please, if you're interested or if you want to know more, check out Comfi's website and come to the Meydan website to find out more about the relationship. Until next time, keep innovating with Meydan Free Zone.